pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we just come to you from a position of grace today, Lord. We just ask you to bless all who work at the NSBU. Give us wisdom and guidance in all our affairs. Protect all our families as we travel throughout the holiday. And especially as we go through this period that we're going through with the rates and everything, Lord, we just ask you to give us special guidance to do the right things and make the right moves. And we ask all this in your mighty name we pray. Amen. Amen. Okay. Do a roll call?
Or do safety message?
Oh, safety message first. Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Raquel Mercado, Director of Electric Operations at New Smyrna Beach Utilities. Today's safety message is just a reminder to stay present amid all the distractions. We just talked about the holiday. Certainly a season that brings us lots of joys, but it also comes with a lot of distractions. Mental distractions like shopping lists, travel plans, even a momentary lapse in attention can cause severe accidents, right? Physical fatigue, like staying up at night, catching up with friends and family, can cause cloud of judgment, right? So even if you're doing small tasks, serious things can happen. The emotional stress of feeling like you have to do it all is just another distressor. So this is just a reminder that the best gift you can give your loved ones is one of safety. Slow down, take a breath before starting a task. Put away your phone while driving. One of the phrases that we like to say in operations is keep your head in the game.
Right.
And the message.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have, let's see, we can do a roll call?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Conrad?
Here.
Commissioner Devine?
Here.
Chairman Hawes? Commissioner Kelly?
Here. Do we have any changes, additions, or any deletions to the agenda?
No, no, Chairman.
Okay. How about public participation? We have anybody here today?
I did put one in front of you.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, Lisa. Yeah, Commissioner. Yes.
Just two quick notes. I want everybody to know how disappointed I am that we didn't get the insurance of a closed transmission loop. We're put in the very precarious position. If one of those goes out, particularly the center one, we could be down for days. If it's an underground repair, you have to find it. And anybody who has worked in a real, big company knows that there's redundancy and hot spares throughout the system because it's a revenue loss if you lose that connection. The other thing is I would like to know, and I've asked a couple of times but haven't gotten an answer, the return on investment or the cost-benefit ratio of doing any more work on the Western Multiplex. So I'd like to get an answer to that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody want to talk about that, commissioners, or respond?
I could just add a little bit. I think as it relates to the redundancy of the underground lines, I believe there is redundancy built in, that there is the ability to do that. Perhaps one of the directors could comment. As it relates to the Western Conference, we have probably read, we've put together now a Citizens Commission to update all the assumptions that were made in a proposal or a study that was about 14 months ago. It really never went anywhere, so we're updating the assumptions and bringing forward the latest data in and around costs and other variables in the that will eventually roll up to an ROI. So that's in work. I would suspect somewhere in the late January, early February UC meeting, we'll have updates to all those variables of the past, and then we'll be able to relook at if there is a ROI or any other kinds of decisions we need to make.
By the way, I don't think it has the kind of redundancy that you think, or I would not have made the statement. Closed loop enables any one of those stations to take over for the other two. We do not have a full transmission loop.
Commissioner, I tend, when we went through this, I tend to agree with you. And I think I even mentioned, there's very few times that, like, you go against a staff recommendation, right? You guys are, the staff that's here are hired, you're professionals. You make that recommendation based on educational experience and that type of thing. I think what, even myself, I stumbled with a little bit was when the lady from BOA said we're going to have 4 rate decreases next year. We're already getting one in December. Was it at the time to borrow that much money? And, hey, you're like, you're going in, 80 million, why not go 110 and finish the job? But at the end of the day, that gave me hesitation to go, yeah, let's get it done. But I do agree with you, we should have that redundancy built in. I think, again, to go back to talk about we weren't here, but there should have been better preparation over the last 20 years. Certainly over the last 6 to 8 years or 10 years, there's been a lot of improvements, going back all the way to Mr. Bunch and then Efren and all that. But it's a very good point. And to the Western Complex, I think you guys got that. I think that's being picked up now and figured out. But the redundancy, I don't disagree with you there. And I see.
Well, I guess what I'd also add is what we did approve is $90 million of new capital that's directed at redundancy and a new water treatment, which is the highest capital approval ever in the history of the Utilities Commission. $90 million with a company, UC, of about $85 million. So we have gone into debt as high as higher than our actual revenue in 1 year. So I think the plan that was put together to improve reliability over the next 10 years is in place. And the $90 million bond, which will eventually be let probably in the next 2 or 3 months, is directly targeted for better reliability. So it's not like we're doing nothing. We've made a huge investment.
If you don't have a closed loop, Jeff, if you don't have a closed loop, you got a problem. And it's best practice, the entire industry has a closed loop, and we have decided against it. So we can all hope that, that one of those places doesn't go down, but that's a hope and a prayer.
The only comment I would make is, I don't think we voted against it. We voted to
correct.
delay it. And we weren't prepared to use the money for a couple of years anyhow to do that. And there's been substantial work on it before. I think maybe 16, 18 months ago, we started talking to the public about the transmission loop. And I don't think it's tabled. I just think it's not as important today. We were very lucky this year. We did not have any hurricanes. We didn't have lines go down. We didn't have outages. We were very, very fortunate, and we made the best decision I think we can to start a little slower and then go back to the well.
Yeah, I mean, in my view, I wouldn't even characterize it at slow. I mean, again, $90 million capital package was approved. In some ways, I've been in the reliability business for a long time. Reliability is almost infinite. You can spend anything you want to try and get to the 5th decimal point of reliability. I think the team is doing a great job of sharing what the priorities are and trying to balance that with some fiscal responsibility as it relates to the costs to the citizens.
I was making only a comment and asking a question because I think we've already spent about $1.5 million on the potential Western multiplex project. And so I want to be really clear that before we break ground or before we hire anybody, that we know the benefit behind it. And so that's clear on that. And I do not mean to interrupt the meeting, please. Go ahead.
No, thanks for the comments, and, you know, to Commissioner Conrad's comment too, I think we tabled it. I mean, that was setting it aside, and that we'll move forward and look at it down the road, and I agree with you. The Western Complex either needs to get done or not done, one or the other. So, but we need,
In fact, I think there are dollars being spent to evaluate permits, doing design work.
Right.
So it is absolutely just delayed and not on hold.
No, I don't, there is no permit, there is no additional work going on right now, because if the project were to go, you start the development, the design, the permitting, you have to proceed. The work that was done, just to clarify, 2-3 years ago, and Julie can weigh in more on this, the route was decided, that was confirmed. Once you start, it does take several years, if I'm not mistaken. So it's approximately 3 years, but that 3 years is really the design, permitting, and then you start. So either way, it's 3 years from the start of it. But I don't know, Julie, anything else to add on that? But we will investigate. We had a month or two ago, we had a conversation around bringing in mobile generation, temporary things to try to address, set up specific contracts with third-party providers in case of an emergency, to then try to mitigate the impact if there is a failure to that magnitude. So we will be looking at that.
okay. Thank you, Debbie. Buddy is trying to listen in.
I sent him an email to YouTube,
Okay,
and I sent him the link.
okay. Should I tell him to check his email?
Well, yes, there should be a link in his email that I sent him. Thank you.
Excuse me one moment, we'll text him. He's on. Yes. Okay, moving on to item 3, approval of consent items. Anybody want anything pulled? Need a motion to approve then?
So moved.
Second?
No discussion?
No discussion?
Okay. Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Conrad?
Yes.
Commissioner Devine?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Kelly?
Yes. And next, we have the general manager's report.
I'd asked Finance Director Julie A. to come up and present. This will be a combo. I'll take over a couple of slides towards the end, but she will, of course, do the bulk of it.
Forgot my emotional support binder. Okay, good afternoon. Julie Adamson, Director of Finance. Today I will be presenting to you the August 31st, 2025 financials, which is our first month of our new fiscal year. If you'll go to the next slide, please. Can we go back one slide? There you go.
Sorry.
So this is a summary of items that we'll review with you today. We'll just touch on some key financial considerations, defining these financials, balance sheet highlights, the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net assets, also referred to as the income statement, financial highlights, capital expenses, the status of our unrestricted reserve balance, our purchase paragraphs, and then the financial activities and bond issuance status update, as well as follow-up information from the workshop. Go ahead, next slide. So our October 31st, 2025 financials, there's a couple key considerations that you'll want to be mindful of as we continue the discussion throughout the year. Our fiscal year runs from October 1st to September 30th, so we are in fiscal year 2026 right now. Our charter, the NSBU charter requires NSBU to submit financial statements monthly and to perform an annual audit. Our annual audit is currently underway, and we'll have an update later on in the presentation. The agenda package we provide to you all every single month includes a full set of financial statements, which includes the financial highlights, statistical highlights, statement of net assets, statement or changes in net assets, which is their income statement, status reports of special funds, our capital improvement project activity, and statement of cash flows and budget to actuals. There were no, as Commissioner Conrad pointed out during the intro, there were no hurricanes that impacted New Smyrna Beach during the most recent fiscal year. So early in fiscal year 25, there was Hurricane Milton, so that, throughout the course of the year, that's going to impact some comparability to prior year data because of the hurricane. Next slide, please. Okay, this slide provides information on our statement of net assets as of October 31st, 2025. It essentially highlights from our balance sheet. Our cash available from operations and to help support capital projects that are funded from our unrestricted fund and purchase power as of October 31st is about $24.4 million. Our operating cash is approximately $8.3 million, and our purchase power reserve is approximately $9.2 million. Our unrestricted R&R balance is about $6.8 million. The restricted cash resources include our capital connection fees of about $12.7 million, which are used to fund expansions of our water and wastewater infrastructure. Our customer deposits are approximately $3.8 million, and our debt service reserve fund is approximately $346,000. The reason why our debt service reserve fund may seem low is because we recently made a debt service payment October 1st, excuse me. Our liabilities include accounts payable of about $3.5 million, our purchase power reserve of about $9.2 million because we owe those funds back to the customer, and our long-term debt outstanding of approximately $61.4 million, as well as our customer deposits of $3.8 million because we owe those funds eventually back to the customer. Our change in net assets is just under $1 million, which is approximately $147,000 higher versus prior year. We could go to the next slide, please. Our statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net assets. It's essentially our income statement for the organization. Our fiscal year 26 change in net assets is approximately $147,000 more than our fiscal year 25, and that's due to the following. Our operating income is approximately $140,000 more than our fiscal year 2025. Our key drivers of that is $614,000 higher operating revenues due to the fiscal year 26 fuel adjustment funding purchase power costs versus funding the purchase power reserve. An offset of operating expenses of about $510,000, primarily due to higher purchase power expense, which is offset by lower O&M costs in other categories. Non-operating income is about $19,000 lower than fiscal year 25, and that's due to lower interest earnings. Our capital contributions are about $78,000 more than fiscal year 25, and that's due to revenues of capital connection fees and meter set fees. Next slide, please. So our statistical highlights include, we look at a metric called days on cash on hand, and so that essentially takes our cash portion of our O&M expenses and compares it to our cash in our operating account and our unrestricted R&R account. So our days on cash on hand is about 5.4 months, and that's when you factor in the cash from our purchase power reserve, or 3.3 months, or approximately 104 days when you exclude the cash from our purchase power reserve. Our electric sales were about 7% lower than October 2024. We've had 2% more in customer accounts billed than October 2024. Our revenues are flat between October 2025 and 2024. Our
Julie, real quick question on
mhm.
that. First, the difference between sales and revenue, are they kind of one and the same, or?
Sales is consumption, and then our revenues are an aspect of consumption, but one of the items that kind of drive our revenues is our purchase power and how much of our fuel adjustment we're using towards our purchase power
Got
costs.
it. And then on the lower sales by 7%, is that just driven by weather, or what's the driver there?
Potentially weather, yes. It's like a seasonality item. Good question. So water system, our sales are about 6% higher than October 2024, 2% more customer accounts billed than October 2024, and then our revenues are approximately 5% higher than October 2024. And then our wastewater and reclaimed, our wastewater sales are about 2% higher, and our reuse sales are about 15% higher than October 2024. And so we have slightly higher customer accounts in our wastewater that we've billed, and then our reuse is about 3% higher than October 2024. And then our revenues for wastewater are about 2% higher, and our reuse revenues are about 16% higher than October 2024. And again, a byproduct of that is also the weather.
So the water sales and the revenue stay pretty close to one another.
Yeah.
There's an equal, the variable in the electric is the
Yep.
purchase power. Yep.
Exactly right.
Well, and it'll be a function of as it's been mild, sometimes you don't use electric or cooling, so then therefore
Yeah.
revenue it's a function of the weather.
We'll go ahead to the next slide, please. Our October 2025 fiscal year to date capital expenditures is about $504,000. And so we've had about $27,000 in major project expenditures, which include water main improvements, and then $477,000 in annual project spend, which includes purchasing of transformers. So it seems lower than other months, but this October was the first month of our new year, and some of our expenses that we paid in September or in October were actually accruals for September. So there's a timing matter as well. We can go to the next slide, please. And then this slide is a picture of our unrestricted R&R reserve balance as of October 31st. And so you'll see that currently our balance in our unrestricted R&R account is just over $16 million. Within that $16 million is our purchase power reserve of about $9.2 million. So really, when you take the difference between the balance in our R&R versus our purchase power reserve, we have about $6.8 million available for projects that we currently have committed and paying out and underway. So essentially, doing a financial analysis, we basically issue right around $2 million of checks each month from our unrestricted R&R account. But then we also fund our unrestricted R&R account from transfers from our operating fund, that 8% transfer, if you will. So the net impact of our capital spend is about $1.5 million. So if you assume approximately we'll be drawing down on this $1.5 million per month to reimburse or to pay for capital expenses, by March 2026, we are projected to start having to dip into our purchase power reserve to pay for committed projects currently underway. And that's assuming if there's no bond issuance. So when we're able to issue the bonds, we'll be able to reimburse ourselves for some of these expenses that we have incurred over the course of this fiscal year. Our committed projects currently exceed our balance in our R&R account by $38 million if no bond proceeds are issued. Our fiscal year-end audit entries are pending completion, and some of these entries may have a positive impact on our reserve balance. I'll pause there and see if you have any questions or discussion.
I know you've said all of these expenses are in flight. Are there any newly planned expenses that are not fully committed today that could be delayed till the bond is issued, or is all this in flight?
So there are some capital projects that haven't been committed yet, but essentially the top 5 largest committed projects we have are heavily underway, and that's our AMI projects, which is about $4.7 million. The wastewater facility screw press project that is currently committed at $2.8 million. We have the pellet softening project. Now, the one benefit for the pellet softening is a portion of that is being funded out of our restricted R&R account. So hopefully the restricted R&R account should take us through at least March or April on that project. So while it's a large commitment in our R&R account, a portion of it is being funded through capital connection fees. And then we also have some transformers of about 1.5 million that will be paying out as well. And so we have some sizable projects. Those are just a handful that are going to be paying out throughout the year, as well as some smaller dollar values in like the 200 to less than $1 million range.
Yeah, I guess this is a great chart, and you continue to put it in front of us, which I assume you're doing because that is a bit of a concern where we have to go into our reserves on
Yes.
something we should have probably put the funding in front of the commitments. And you described, I think, all the projects that are in flight. I was asking more about projects that are not signed and committed to that could possibly be in the 38 million that we could maybe delay until we get this funding in place.
Oh, what's in the 38 million is essentially what's committed projects. And it also includes, for example, the projects that you just approved as part of the
I got
consent
it.
agenda.
Right.
And one other project approval project for the KV breakers. So it's the primary number are the committed projects that we have, or the number really is the committed projects that we have, either a purchase order or a contract underway on. So there's not there's not a significant amount of ancillary items
Got it.
floating around. We even, to help offset that 38 million, we even included the future reimbursement from our Hurricane Milton to help, help offset that. But again, that's an unknown timing of when we're gonna get that money from FEMA.
Right. So what is the plan B if there's a delay in issuing the bond? It looks like we would go beyond this reserve somewhere in the June timeframe. Is that roughly accurate?
About March, yes. We would start dipping into our purchase power reserve
Right.
approximately in March.
Is there a plan B, a loan of some form, or?
So we're limited in our ability to take out certain loans. I believe and Heather Ramos can correct me on this, in our NSBU charter, we do have an ability to take out a loan for operating expenses, but these are capital expenses. So these would have to follow a different path. So this would have to follow, I believe it's section 8.5 of our charter, and we would have to get authorization to be able to incur the debt, or we would incur the debt, the additional debt.
So I believe there may be opportunities, and we would have to clearly investigate these, a line of credit with Bank of America. There are financing facilities if it came to that point, I believe. But we, of course, would have to make sure from a purchasing standpoint that all that, because I know Bank of America, the underwriter, has indicated that previously as an option.
I guess I would request that we build kind of the plan B, to some high-level preliminary kind of view. I don't anticipate any issues with the bond, but you never know, and I think that's to dip into this reserve, I'm sure is not making you very comfortable either.
No, it's not. It's not an ideal situation to be in.
Okay.
Is that something you
Yeah,
want to take on?
we can investigate what other, because this would mean terminating projects,
No. I'm
so
I'm
what,
looking for
yeah.
alternative funding vehicle rather than depleting the reserve.
Oh.
is
So
what
that's
I'm-
where I'd indicated potentially
Right, but
line
I
of
guess
credit.
I'd
and
like to see that kind of more
Yeah.
built out.
No, that's
You
fine.
know, not to a point where we're incurring a great deal of expense on it, but,
No, that's fine. Yeah, some other alternative financing
right.
methods or vehicles. Yep.
We would just have to make sure it's in line with what our charter is and
Of
what we're
course.
authorized to do, so.
Yeah.
All right, next slide, please. Okay, this is a status, so we talked about big picture, the unrestricted R&R reserve. Now we're focused a little bit more on our purchase power reserve. So this is a 3-year snapshot from October 2022 to October 2025 of our purchase power reserve. And so, as of today, our purchase power reserve is at $9.2 million, which is a liability to our customers because we essentially owe them those funds. So we do have we do have some headroom between the $5 million target and the $19.2 million liability. We do intend, as part of, just as a reminder, as part of the rate study, we will be giving, effective
Credits back.
February 1st, a credit back to our customers to help reduce that purchase power reserve a little more, or back to the $5 million target. So that credit will start February 1st, 2026 to October 31st, 2026, and then the credit amount will change effective, I'm sorry, I meant to say September 30th, 2026. That credit amount will change effective October 1st, 2026 to September 30th, 2027. So, next slide, please. Our rate proposal and bond issuance timeline, just to provide you all an update. So on October 27th, 2025, we reviewed various scenarios with the commission and we requested your concurrence on an approach. And so the reason why that was important is because we needed to then notify the customers during the months of November and December of the public hearing and the proposed rate increase. I believe Commissioner Conrad had the flyer from her mailer that showed the notification of the public hearing. Our first public hearing is scheduled on December 15th, and that's a preliminary public hearing where there's no action or voting. By December 31st, we will be submitting our electric rate tariffs to the Public Service Commission. So as part of the resolutions that you all will receive, draft resolutions as part of the December 15th meeting, you'll receive draft copies of our tariff documents for electric for fiscal year 26 through 2030. And then you will also receive a draft version of our water rates, charges, and fees from fiscal year 26 to fiscal year 30. On January 8th, there will be a presentation during the workshop from Southeastern Investment Securities, our financial advisor, Toby. There will also be the second public hearing scheduled for January 26th, and this is where the commission will approve the rates. And then February 1st will be the effective date of the new rates if they are approved by the commission during the January 26th meeting. Our March 23rd, 2026 commission meeting is where an approval will be requested for resolutions outlining key terms of the 2026 bond issuance, including the forms of the bond prospectus and then the bond purchase agreement. And then on April 2026, the bond, that's our target month to issue the bonds depending on market conditions. So I'll pause there to see if you have any other questions for me before I turn it over to Efren to continue the presentation.
No?
Okay. All right,
Okay.
I will
Thank you.
turn it over to Efren.
Okay, so if you go to the next slide. Okay, so this is just, in addition to Toby presenting in January at the workshop, kind of the deep dive, but to give you a little perspective, so what this doesn't have is, in April 2024, we requested approval from the commission to enact or start the studies for the rate sufficiency, the assets, in essence, the asset evaluation, and the electric rate consultant that works with Raftelis. Raftellus is in essence, the rate study providers. So that was back in April of 2024. So fast forward, April and May 2025, this was when the staff presented to the commission the approval of the bond issuance not to exceed 130 million. So in essence, whether we selected 80 or 110, that 130 million was meant to capture that. In May 2025, it was then presented to the city to then get 2 readings for that ordinance and approval of that prospective bond issuance. Confirmation with council. In essence, it was a 2025 bond issuance, but in essence, Council Ramos in confirmation with the Bond and Disclosure Council, whether it's 25 or 26, it's a valid approval. Okay, so the week of December 8th, and this is giving a kind of a detailed timeline, we're getting the first draft of the consulting engineering report, the financial feasibility report, and then Bond Disclosure Council and Bond Council are drafting the preliminary official statement. So that's when, and the items highlighted in green on this slide are the items that were approved back in April 2024 to kick off the bond process. First week of January, second draft of the consulting engineering preliminary official statement and series resolution. So these documents, the reports, and that is in essence setting New Smyrna Beach Utilities up for success as it relates to going to the market, putting the strong assessment of operationally and financially. These are the pieces. January 8th workshop is a further deep dive on the process. The objectives there would be Toby would walk through the process on the role of the underwriter, the financial advisor, and the next steps to issuance of those bonds. In February, at least per the schedule, submit packages to rating agencies, Fitch and Moody's. Currently, we have very solid ratings with both of them and have deep interaction annually with Fitch in particular. So March 23rd is a key one, and this is consistent with the prior bond issuance as well as the normal issuance process. So there's this adopt a series resolution, which will come to the commission. It describes the key parameters of the bond issuance. The bond prospectus, which is the information about us as the issuer, and then the bond purchase agreement, which is the contract between New Smyrna Beach Utilities and the underwriter. The underwriting team was identified, and it's in the back of this slides. But in essence, the contract to execute those bonds. End of March, April, rating agencies and the ratings are assigned. Of course, the goal is to continue to retain our strong ratings, or if there's an opportunity, of course, to increase it, but we want to ensure that we maintain what we have for the best possible bond issuance outcome. And then April, it really depends on the market conditions when we then issue those bonds. And of course, that is where the underwriter, looking at the market conditions, the demand, and such, then makes what is the best determination for us. But we, as staff, will definitely get the approval of the commission prior to any of these steps. I'll pause there. Any questions? Okay. Next slide. So this just gives you a little background on the financial advisor and the underwriter procurement. So back in 2007, the then Director of Finance and GM CEO contracted with Southeastern Investment Securities for the financial advisor, and Ackerman, Centralift Edison as bond counsel. Fast forward today, what we are using Gray Robinson as bond and disclosure counsel, and we would have gotten approval from our commission sometime in '24. In 2007, a retainer agreement was executed with Southeast Investment. Shall be for a continuing term unless terminated as provided herein. So just a retainer agreement with him. with the financial advisor who represents our interest in the bond transaction. Since 2007, we've had 7 successful financing, as shown here. 10 million revenue certificate in 07, 09, 12, 2013 A and B, and then of course the most recent one being the 2020 at 70.4 million in series bonds. Now, to clarify on this piece, so we are currently going to market for 80 million in, based on the approval, 80 million in bonds to fund the next 5 years of capital projects. In 2020, it was 65 million of new money plus 15.3 million of refinancing to capitalize or get the better interest rate. So in reality, it was more like 80.3 million. So they're fairly comparable in size of bond issuance when you look at it between the new money plus the refinancing from then. So 65 and 15.3. Okay, in 2019, since New Smyrna Beach Utilities had not been to the market in some time, we issued an RSQ to solicit services for investment banking and underwriters. 3 proposals were received and Hilltop was selected. In 2023, the procurement manual was updated to include an exemption from competitively procuring banking, merchant underwriters, bond counsel, disclosure counsel, rating agencies, financial advisor, and purchasing card services.
Why was that done?
I believe just from the standpoint of streamlined services, yeah.
Would you do that with any other vendor? Are there any other
Typ-
vendors that
typic-
don't RFQ?
Typically, what we do with professional services on certain types of items, that this is not uncommon in the industry.
I-
But we can,
I mean, just.
It can be
was
changed.
It was in your procurement manual, so I would say it was pretty consistent. And then you take it out? I mean, who authorized to take it out? Is that something you ultimately have? the
No,
authority
it was,
to do?
the purchasing manual, the updated one was presented to the commission for approval.
So the commission approved not doing the RFQs for these categories?
So,
Is there anyone with background that understands why this was done?
I don't remember that. I remember we had significant discussions about changes in the procurement manual. We could go back and look at the manual.
I'd like to make a motion that this be re-looked at. I mean, these are very expensive services, highly subjective, so decisions are made.
we can definitely modify the procurement matter.
And I guess also, one other request would be the head of procurement. I don't understand why that decision doesn't go through you. I would think for sure you change
No,
a
we-
procurement
yeah,
manual
ultimately-
as significant as this. That
Yeah.
should be
No, it
only
did.
with
It-
your approval.
Well, but it's not just my approval, it came to the commission for
Okay.
approval. So yes, ultimately it did rest with me.
But you don't recall why it was changed or why they proposed that?
I think from specialized services such as this, it isn't the lowest cost that is always, when you use underwriters for services to place bonds, you want to have the biggest market to execute those bonds. That's an underwriter. In addition, the financial advisor reviews those fees before we finalize any of these. There is no contract or agreement in place currently with the underwriter because, as we had indicated in the January workshop, we'll have the deep dive, and then in March, everything comes to the commission for approval as to the bond prospectus, the bond agreement, and it'll have the schedule of fees. Toby, as the financial advisor, consistent with last time, also reviews those to make sure they're consistent with, that we're obtaining competitive, incurring competitive fees for the underwriters.
Okay, you led off with suggesting that the RFQ would only seek lowest cost. That's not what an RFQ does. RFQ wants the
So-
best solution for the entity.
Yes,
So
so,
it doesn't
so
have
they-
anything to do with cost. I mean, that's one.
no, but what I'm
one
saying
element.
is, in March, when we present the bond prospectus and the bond purchase agreement, that is when we will have an estimate of what those fees are. And to your point, RSQ is qualification, so that's where we did the similar process in 2024 as well to select the underwriters.
Okay,
So in October 2024, myself and Toby conducted interviews for, and we had 4 presenters, and then we selected Bank of America as the lead underwriter, and then Hilltop Securities as the co-lead.
so is there documentation of that decision and who and how it was made? What was the criteria used, and did it go, were there minutes presented to the
There,
council?
yeah, there was not that we could. We gave an update in April 2025 discussing the team, but yes, we conducted an informal RSQ in that regard. Now, going forward, as we can update and have the commission be part of the decision process as it relates to underwriters or other pieces of the bond issuance process. So that is an easy item for a go-forward basis, so, to address that.
I want to go back to, in 2023, NSBU's procurement manual was updated. Could you have staff take the time to go back and, I can't remember when it was that we, and yes, Lisa, I need to talk into the mic. I can't remember when it was completely overhauled, but I believe it was sometime between 20 and 22. And I would like to know whether you said update. Was this an update for 1 item, 10 items, 15 items? Just this item? So if you could provide some clarification and additional information, and I don't care if it's at the next workshop as opposed to at the next board meeting, but I think that information would be helpful in us gaining an understanding of the sequence of events that led to this being taken out of the procurement manual, and to know whether it was a bulk thing and there were many, many other items, and this just happened to be the one that's related to this presentation today, or not.
Sounds good.
Good.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay.
Agree.
Understand?
And also, if you, while you're looking back at that, if you could look at what the previous language was related to decision-making. In
Okay.
other words, in October 24, looks like you and the financial advisor made those key decisions. Was there any different methodology in how decisions were made in the old procurement manual?
No, I mean, the difference is, it was a formal RSQ, so there would have been an evaluation process and such. We can provide details on exactly what was done, but in essence, in this one, we in essence met with the various underwriters, and then picked based on qualifications at that time, but it was more myself and the financial advisor.
Yeah,
You
just to-
just said that it was an RFQ, but I
In
thought it
20,
wasn't.
no, in 2019, it was an RSQ. In
Okay.
2024, we interviewed 4 presenters.
And
But we did a similar question and answer. They present their support for why they're qualified to be the underwriter for us in a deal.
okay, and that's when you were both the CFO and the CEO, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I think so.
or if
Maybe
I just
was-
started
I
it.
don't know who your backup was at that point in time, but.
Yeah, I think I was doing both. On April 28, 2025, we had the bond resolutions proposing the 2025 up to 130 million. And then Toby will present the January 8th workshop. And then the fees related to the upcoming bond issuance will be, of course, be an estimate, but it'll be based on the current information that we have to date. Okay. If you go to the next slide. Okay. So this is just a look back, but this gives you the perspective on the Series 2020 and what the bond issuance fees were at that point in time for the bond issuance. So I'll just go down. So Ackerman was bond counsel, so 70,000. BNY Mellon, paying agent, so small. DAC. DAC is a continuing disclosure service that's provided to ensure that we meet all disclosure requirements for our bonds. Fitch and Moody's, they set their rating agencies' fees. At that time, Gray Robinson was disclosure counsel. Toby as financial advisor, 82,000. Stantec, now Stantec that we're showing here is the bond feasibility and engineering report. That is standard, and we'll have a similar one as well for this bond issuance. We had estimates for printing and miscellaneous, and then underwriter discount. So they call it a discount, but in essence, it's the underwriter's cost for placing those bonds.
What else is Stantec doing for us?
They do the quinquennial, they do the bond feasibility and engineering report. Julie?
They're doing some modeling for me, and they do some design work. That's it?
I seem to recall we hear that name
We hear that
quite
name.
often.
Yeah, and they're
they're
partners.
a consultant that's frequently used, and you're happy with them, obviously.
Yeah,
You
and-
wouldn't continue to use them.
They're part of the PC Construction Stantec team that's doing the design, progressive design build of the pellet softening too.
Thank you.
But they're good.
Any questions on the fees? These are,
I guess, so one question, these are 2020 fees.
Correct.
With about the $70 million loan, so it looks like about a 1% was the fee rate. I guess we should anticipate about a 1% for
Yes.
the $90 million bond?
correct, because,
And so that would bring the fees somewhere around, $900,000 million.
maybe, and it's, just to clarify, it's 80 million, not 90. It was 80 or 110, it's 80
Okay,
million.
80.
Yep. Mhm.
But then going back to the previous point on that, when we changed the procurement manual, so none of these services will be RFQ'd now because of the procurement manual?
Under the current procurement manual, no, but we can change it and in essence, put it back in. So,
Would you think we should?
it's probably, since
I mean, I could
with
just-
our financial.
I say that with the perspective of all the equipment that you purchase, some of it less than $1 million,
Yeah.
and I'll bet you go off and do a great job on getting
Yeah.
RFQs in for $1 million.
Yeah, it's either way, in these services, we are reviewing the value that they bring to the table as well as what the cost is, and that's where Toby, as the financial advisor, reviews these, particularly in the underwriter discount. But it is not an issue to put it back in and issue it again. Issue for a subsequent bond issuance. But to your point, yes, these fees, now what will be different, the Stantec, that is not as a percentage, that'll be whatever his fee is for the work, so those hours.
So they're fixed.
Yes,
Yeah.
depending on the quote that we agreed to when we did last year.
And 1% is roughly industry norm, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I think for when we did, just got it right here. Yeah, 1%, because that's what it ended up when we issued a summary from the last bond issuance, it was just 1%.
And what is budgeted for this $80 million?
So right now, all of these costs are in the debt service run that we have in the rates.
So just to kind of clarify a couple numbers, so, the cost of issuance and underwriter discount, what is being assumed is about $1,068,150. And then $80 million in debt proceeds, but it'll generate, total 88.4 million, because we'll have to issue slightly higher debt to be able to pay for our debt service reserve, and we're also assuming the bonds are being issued at a premium, so we'll get about 4.7 million from the premium.
So the actual bond's 88 million? you
88
said?
million, which includes a
Closer to the 90?
4.7 million premium.
Now, you might want to explain, so when we factored in the analysis that we presented with each of you individually, the debt service coverage related to that 80 million, based on the current estimates, is reflected in the rates that we're presenting. So those numbers are estimated, as when we actually go to the market, our job is to be, of course, get as low as possible, and including all of the charges, because we will be looking for because at the end of the day, what we're converting is the debt service coverage, which is the cost of that money, is factored into the rate study. The proof that we are obtaining the lowest cost is what that all-in total interest cost is. When we did this same work 5 years ago, our all-in total interest cost was 2.76%, which at that time was historically low. And that's reflected of all costs related to that bond issuance.
And what's the apple to apple of the 2.7 versus what we're budgeted?
Sorry, what was?
The interest rate
Oh,
that you said.
oh, so
2.7.
2.76, so right
What do we
now,
have modeled?
right now, what is it, 5?
About 4.66%, 4.67% for the total all-in interest, and our coupon is about 5%.
Thank you. Times have changed.
Just a little.
So before I move on, any other questions on the bond issuance fees? Okay, next slide. Okay, so just kind of a quick financial activities, the upcoming milestones. So on December 15th, we'll have the first public hearing of the rates. We, and Julie mentioned this at last month's commission meeting, we met with FPL on November 19th, talking about the 3-year extension from 2031, 32, and 33 at the existing rates. So we will be presenting a proposal to you at the December 15th meeting related to the contract extension that we need to give notice by the end of December. September 30th is the last fiscal year, so this one that we just ended for fiscal for Purvis Gray. So this one is a commissioner-involved selection and evaluation, so then we will, Julia will present that in December. January 8th workshop will be the deep dive on underwriter, financial advisor, the fee structure, the way that the bonds are reviewed or analyzed to maximize the money that we've, well, in essence, in this instance, 80 million at the lowest all-in cost. January 26th, the final public hearing. So at the March 12th workshop, we will have the, Purvis will be presenting the, in essence, the act for the annual comprehensive financial report. They'll present, but since we cannot vote or make an action on that, that final fiscal year 25 will then be approved formally at the March 23rd commission meeting. At the March 23rd commission meeting, we will also be presenting and requesting your approval, the series resolution outlining the bond issuance parameters, the prospectus, the bargain purchase agreement. You'll have a summary of what the estimated fees will be based on today's information, and go from there. I'll pause there. Just a quick snapshot of what's upcoming. What else? I apologize. Any questions? Okay.
Is there anything in your executive summary regarding the conversation that you had on November 19th regarding the power rates?
I don't think we did, but it was, so as we indicated here, and I can talk about it a little bit it was discussing the extension, which really is at current rates, and then really where they're at with the current power market conditions in that regard. And what they're seeing is, and actually their rate proposal was just submitted, their rate proposal was just approved by the PSC, and they in essence have gotten a rate increase. When they talked to us about the market conditions and the current power markets, they talked about the data center expected growth and the driving of the increase in purchase power cost.
Thank you.
So, okay. Okay. Oh, and the appendix, Debbie, if you can go to slide, if you go to slide, keep going. Okay, so this does just give a recap, and it's in there that talks about where we were with the 2020 bonds, the new money that we in essence had expended those funds by fiscal year '24. We talked about, similarly as we did in April 2024, the new 2025 bond issuance will now 26. Let's go to the next slide. Work streams and approval process. So we talked about here, which we now are in the process of executing, the capital connection fees. It's its own stream. So we had the preliminary public hearing in May. In June, it was approved. The rates, charges, and fees, this is where our original timeline was to have this be, the new rates be effective October 1st. But subsequent to that, we've of course changed that. Next slide. We talked about the 2025 bond issuance proposal. So this is where staff and council motioned to approve not to exceed $130 million. Then we talked about the two, or presented to the city, first and second readings on, and final on the ordinance approving that. And then of course that we're, providing details ongoing as to our progress. Okay. Next slide. So here we talk, we just display the team. Bond and Disclosure Council is now Gray Robinson, Raftelis, and Summit were the, in essence, rate feasibility. Stantec was the asset health, or that the assets are in good condition. Toby was the financial advisor, and then Bank of America and Hilltop Securities as the underwriters. Okay. Go to the next slide. So here, just talking about the periodic cost of service rate study, capital connection fee. So this is what we're required to do. We're required to look at our fees every 3 years. And then this is where we just, in essence, ask for the commission's approval to authorize the up to $130 million. And then on the last slide, just one more for reference. Oh, there you go. So at that time, this is a snapshot of what was requested for in April of 2024. And at that time, we had $14.5 million left of the bonds, of the 2020 bonds. And then what we're saying at the bottom is we're asking for approval of the asset assessment, the bond feasibility report, and that would be to execute the approval for those consultants to do the work in preparation for this bond issuance that we will be doing in '26. Okay. That's everything I have, but I just wanted to, it has been over the past well over a year and a half, if not longer. So, any questions?
One question. this process that you've outlined, and I appreciate you going back and giving us all the history, but it yielded a situation where we committed expenses that we didn't have the funding in place for. What, I don't know if it's a manual or what is it that defines and documents the process that should be used in the past and in the future? And what changes are we planning to make as a result of this process?
Well, so I think as a result of this process, if you're talking the way to do this differently, the one item, as we look at the budget and the capital, lining that process up with the preparation of the budget, in the year that we're going to perform a rate study, that they should line up more closely. That's one big item. As far as the coordination and ongoing communication updates, the providing more updates as to where potential rate increases may come up. So a little more communication around that, more timely. Lining up the budget is a very big one.
Yeah, and I guess my question is more about where is this process documented? And I haven't heard anything to suggest we didn't follow a process.
Yep.
But we ran a process
Yep.
that ran aground, essentially, by taking on financial commitments that we didn't have the funding in place for. So I guess I'm looking for where this process can be housed from a documentation
Yeah,
perspective.
from that
And-
standpoint, I think that is an action item for us, is to lay out these steps and put it into a consolidated document so we can, in essence, follow it in and put that time frame in there so we don't end up in a similar
Yeah.
situation.
That would be great.
So-
And I think that would be helpful to share that back with the commission.
Yes.
Maybe in 30 days or so. I do have another question on, I think it's page 17 of your appendix. This is the current purchase power rate today, which, as I read this, the price we're paying today is basically 51 per megawatt hour? $51, correct?
Correct. The all-in.
And we have budgeted over 20% higher than that, just starting in FY '26, right?
Correct.
At $60.
Mhm.
So unless prices go up significantly, we're going to have a major windfall. Is that the right way to look at that number? Because that's,
Today,
this purchase power is what percent of our budget? 30, $40 million?
it's the biggest single largest line item.
So call it $40 million, and we've overstated that by 20%.
But in
That's
this.
about an $8 million underrun.
No, but that's a good point, but this is where, if there is sustained favorability, we can do fuel and purchase power adjustments back to the
I
customer.
agree.
So, but I understand what
But
you're.
I'm just
yeah.
trying to realistically understand this potential $8 million windfall if purchase power rates stay the same as they are today. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes, I mean, yes, you are. But based on the analysis that were done and the forward price curves, but I don't know, Julie, do you want to talk a little more about that?
So I think one thing to be mindful of is that this is the first month of a new fiscal year, and the weather this month for October has been relatively mild. So as the weather changes over the course of the year, winter gets colder, it gets colder throughout the US, the cost of our purchase power will increase because an influencing factor of
The
our
rate will increase? or
yes, the
price?
cost per megawatt hour will increase.
Okay.
Because a byproduct of our purchase power costs is driven by natural gas markets. So really, we haven't seen the full effect of the seasonality of the weather yet to see what's truly going to happen with our purchase power. So that $51.17 will change over the course of the year.
Well, it might be helpful, maybe you just give it to me offline, but what is the apple to apple of that 60? you're saying that the 51 is just a 1 month?
Correct.
So the apple to apple
And
would.
the 60 is the full year average, correct?
Yes, sir.
So if you could just share what the last 12 months purchase power rate has been,
Okay,
that would be helpful.
yep, we
To
can,
just kind of judge what that potential windfall is.
yep, we can include that information as well, but just realize too, there could be different things that have happened throughout the course of the
course,
year.
of
So we would
course.
just need to be mindful
yeah.
of those different factors.
Certainly not in the bank, but that's good news.
Anything else?
One other thing I just would like to remind on the purchase power is that it is a pass-through, potentially it's a pass-through cost. And to the extent that the purchase power costs and our base rates are higher than our actual purchase power costs, that will just increase our purchase power reserve, but then we can then give back to our customers.
Like we're doing.
Like we're doing
starting this
now.
fiscal
So
year.
it's not something that we're going to be able to use or it's not something we should be using or going to be using to help fund like O&M costs, and that money just goes away because we funded the O&M cost with it. It's supposed to be kind of ring fenced for the purchase power purpose.
Totally understand and agree.
Yep, okay.
Thank you.
Jen?
Okay, so,
General Counsel's report, Heather, any?
The Florida legislature is looking at new bills and has already convened. So if anybody hears anything, let me know. But of course, we're going to keep an eye out of things that might affect the utility. And happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you. I don't think, Efren, are you?
yeah, so I have the fiscal year '25 organizational accomplishments. So it is so you have the Word document that was in your packet, but there is a PowerPoint. So I will try to be, next slide, please. What was that? Okay, so I do want to say that, the team has done an excellent job from an operational and financial perspective. This document goes through the major categories, but we will try to keep things moving, and I will go expeditiously on this. So strategic accomplishments, of course, continue to look at the reliability, resiliency, and sustainability of our electric and water. The Silver Sand septic to sewer, we've made some substantial progress and obtained more additional funds. Continue cooperation with the city and the interagency projects, and then strength in operational and financial, and then cybersecurity focus. Safety is, of course, always number one, so we and trying to retain our staff and always continue to retain high-quality staff. Okay, next one. So we received, NSBU received an additional almost 11.5 million, bringing the total for the Silver Sand septic to sewer project to almost 19 million. So right now, we're in the process of finalizing the selection of that lift station and for the Civic Association to execute the agreement to put the lift station on that site. There is a meeting, vote on it December 8th. So bi-monthly interagency projects, so we have a number of them. We've initiated that project process this year. Washington Streetscape, North Atlantic Water, stormwater improvements, and Corbin Park stormwater. In conjunction with the North Atlantic storm project, we were able to use this as an opportunity to electric storm hardening to help reduce outage restoration time, and then replace 3 parallel water mains with 1 new 10-inch PVC. So in essence, to ensure that we continue to provide good quality water and hopefully reduce the outage impact. From a 4-year lineman apprenticeship program, so we've strengthened that and put more rigor around it to continue the high-quality employees. Next slide. Coordinated closely with the city as it relates to support during emergency events, particularly Hurricane Milton. So during Milton, for our performance, we were 90% restored within 48 hours and 97% restored within 72 hours. In addition, we probably fastest time on record for us to get the approval from FEMA for the reimbursements that Julia referenced of about $2.5 million. So we do expect that first quarter, but until the money is in the bank, that's always the NSBU. Julie's team is part of the New Smyrna Beach Vulnerability Assessment. So in essence, it's part of the Resilient Florida program to identify vulnerable areas, both for the city and NSBU. Okay. Community, next slide, please. Community involvement. So every year, and we're doing it again this year, coming into 26, Public Power Celebration, Spring Fest or Waterwise, and then Winter Wonderland, which will be the day after Thanksgiving. We did have, so of course, employee volunteer events, Hurricane Helene in North Carolina, so we did support for that. Donated about 1,300 food items, and then donations to Habitat for Humanity. On the, we received a commendation for support to Ocala Electric Utility and Central Florida Electric Cooperative after Hurricane Helene. We sent linemen to support those, it's called mutual aid to those other utilities. For the AMI, we installed, as of November, we installed approximately 13,000 electric meters out of the full 31,000 that we expect to have. That is expected to be done Q2 of 2026. As part of the AMI and its FlexNet system, we put in additional information that collects data. It's called remote telemetry models to collect data that provides us real-time information throughout the system. Okay. Next slide. Smyrna Substation Circuit 32. So this provides additional reliability and switching capability that allows us to transfer load in that western service territory. So once again, if we have problems in one, you can isolate and restore an outage and potentially move large swaths of customers to this line, this Circuit 32, to minimize the impact of outages. Inlet Shores Community, this one, it's an overhead hardening project. Even in what we had noticed in that community of about 200 customers, we noticed that there would be, with rainstorms, they would be out for a good amount of time. So what we did was we actually went in there and put 19 new, stronger, in essence, more current construction standard utility poles, and then put new wire in. Field Street Transmission Line East. So in this, to beef up our transmission line at Field Street, we replaced 40 transmission poles, and then the contractor will return in February to replace the wire. The WAMS team, so that's Work and Asset Management System. We implemented that system for electric and water in July of 2025. Now we're focusing in what a Work and Asset Management System is, a work order system to track what our people are working on in electric and water and how long is it taking them in activities. It provides valuable insight on the work, how much is it preventative maintenance versus corrective. The next phase of that we're working on now is the asset management. That is okay, on the assets that we have in the field, plant, out, any assets, whether it be electric or water, what is the state of that asset and when is its life cycle ending? And that's the assessment as part of that. Of course, the analysis and reports to fund the next 5 years. So that's the bond feasibility report, the asset assessment, which is Stantec, the rate study, which was Reftelis with Randy Haley, and then and this is all for the upcoming bond issuance. Okay. Next slide. So the electric KPIs were negatively impacted by, so for that Field Street transmission work that we did, when we're doing work on that project alone, we had to put the distribution system into an alternate configuration to transfer that load impacted by that project. So what happened was, we're using the distribution system to account for that portion of the transmission line. To allow it to be worked on, we moved load on the regular, in essence, the poles and wires. So SAFE, SAIDI, so SAFE, if you think about it, S for for the system, F for frequency. We were over target. It would have been slightly lower had we not been in an alternate configuration. SAIDI, so system, and then the duration of the outage, 135 minutes versus 72. We would have been much lower at around 90, excluding that alternate configuration. On the KD, or the customer duration side, we were at 93. It would have been at 83. So
What
we,
was the duration of that configuration?
I want to say
Months?
couple months. We are continuing to do the best practices as it relates to our preventive maintenance program, the veg management, infrared, the drone. Water resources, excellent performance. We did have one area for wastewater major breaks that was slightly over due to 2 breaks in July. And then customer service and organizational capacity, which is procurement, human resources, fleet facilities, they all performed better than NSBU targets.
I looked at those, the customer service KPIs looked really great. Are there any KPIs that they use to understand kind of the cost per contact, or any kind of cost measurement?
We haven't, but we can see what's out there to see if there is.
Pretty common.
Yeah. So we'll take a look. Okay. So water and wastewater modernization projects. So the pellet softening project was kicked off. That will that will actually begin construction in November. The disinfection process, so that's going from gas to a liquid. That's almost complete. There's just some punch list items. We eliminated fluoride, which avoids $35,000 in annual chemical costs, and we avoided almost $500,000 in new equipment if we were to do it. The state of Florida, subsequent to our decision, then stopped the requirement for fluoride. The biosolid screw press, that was awarded and expected completion in February of '26. That has savings of $500,000, and that's reflected in the rate study.
And how much does that cost?
I believe we'd have to, the screw press.
Project. $500,000 in
Savings.
cost savings is a lot. I just wondered how much it cost.
So like 2.1?
2.1?
I thought I heard,
I can get you the actual number, but it's like 1.2 million-ish.
Had it reversed.
That's a pretty nice return.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah, in that process, it, in essence, is a water reduction, liquids reduction. So this way, then when you are disposing of it, water's heavy, you're disposing more of just the actual what needs to be. The liquid that you extract will then just go back through the system for processing.
Thank you.
WRF headworks, bar screens, purchased, replaced. The bar screens are the initial to remove large debris and grit. That's critical in any of our wastewater. Ongoing, the annual programs, potable water well rehab. So we do this continually, where we service the wells, which extends the life and the components. So we did 7 of 19. Pumps, of course, just a highlight of how many we've done. And then the big one at the bottom, design complete for the master lift station number 60. Number 60 for the bypass pump. So in a case there's an issue it provides resiliency and reliability. If you run into an issue, you have a bypass mechanism to take care or move the waste. Lift station 60, which is at the end of canal, it collects and pumps 2/3 of NSBU wastewater flow. Okay. And that's expected to be done at the end of December. Okay. Next slide. IT and cybersecurity. So this one is critical as we need to ensure that we have eliminate or limit the number of phishing, all of the ways that third-party bad guys try to get in. Digital transformation project, firewall, servers, switches, so things to make sure that our system is, in essence, hardened for those attacks, and those will be done January. The water treatment and the wastewater, SCADA, those are critical in the sense that it's an upgrade, and those are the secure way for us to monitor our systems within the plants and across the system. Cybersecurity awareness, this one is key. So we are at 97% participation versus 85%. This is probably one of the biggest prevention tools for folks to avoid clicking on the wrong link. The security testing benchmark, so we're at less than 0.5%. Goal is less than 3%. So it does, the system that we use test employees throughout the month and throughout the year to ensure, to try to catch anyone on clicking on the wrong items. Okay. Next slide. On the safety side, we had no preventable motor vehicle accidents, which was 24, we had 3. In fiscal year 23, we had 5. Fiscal year 22, we had 1. The benchmark across peer utilities is having less than 7. So we had none, which is excellent. Since we're continually trying to prevent accidents and improve the safety culture, we have human performance tools. Those tools are to help improve human accuracy, efficiency by reducing the errors and making our folks aware of their situational surroundings. Several trainings. The state of Florida has now put in much more burdensome CDL regulations. So we trained 2 staff trainers, which was more cost effective. And then we are then training those folks to get their certification. They go to the state to get the test, and then we are good to go. FMIT Safety Grant Award, that put trauma kits in inside vehicles. We received 2 safety awards, Diamond Award from APPA, and a second place award from FMEA for excellence in safety. This one at the very bottom is my personal pre-job briefings. When we started here almost 7 years ago, pre-job briefings were more of an afterthought. Those pre-job briefings are key because it's a huddle done at the start of a job to ensure that any hazards, inherent hazards of that work, it's properly discussed and the mitigating factors are addressed. So it's always, a lot of times, any employees can take, we do this, we work with high voltage electricity every day or water. We need to make sure that we remind ourselves what are the inherent hazards and how can we mitigate them. Okay. Next slide. Shared service. This is HR and fleet. Positive work culture. We're always stressing a positive work culture. We completed UKG Phase 2, which was a new recruitment portal for potential applicants. We put the employee performance process electronic, leveraging UKG. So that is the payroll. It's in essence a consolidated HRIS tool used by the whole entity. The next one that is significant for us is DocTrack. So this is a standard operating procedure tool that you can set up for all employees. You can target, because a lot of the training that we need to do is regulatory required, so we can set up the documents and it's set up on a certain workflow to get those approval and then the proper sign off by the employees, and it tracks it. We did, under Heather's leadership and management training, we set a number of programs up in-house between some online and in-person type of training on leadership and management. The next one, Samsara. So since we drive, it's thousands of hours a year, a lot of vehicles, almost 100 if not more. Samsara tracks vehicles and the employee driving habits and ensures employee vehicle health, so to bring in for maintenance. Okay, next slide. Compliance. So the governance guidelines that we've set up back in 2021, we completed those for the year. So those are the rate study done every 3 years, comp study done every 3 years, the budget's done annually, annual audit, the quinquennial report is every 5 years. So it's, in essence, how we monitor and ensure that we're completing and executing the deliverables. On the debt service requirement coverage, so this is a function of how our, the funds available to pay debt. That discount debt service requirement coverage, we're at 4 times. The amount required at the minimum from the bond resolution is 1.25. And that comes out as part of our financial audit every year. So it's a calculation of the net revenues after operating expense payments available for debt service bond payments. So when we did the bond issuance in 2020, it was a low number. It has progressively gotten better over the last few years. Days cash on hand, as what Julie references in our monthly reports, we are just over 3 months excluding purchase power, and we're over 5 months when you include the purchase power reserve. Bond ratings maintained, AA stable, and Moody's. Okay. Last one, Western Utility Complex. So this one is just, staff will work with the commission, especially as it relates to this commissioner-led advisory committee. 1 commissioner and then 4 residents. So we will support that. And then in summary, we've continued to deliver on our vision, mission, values, and goals, focusing on electric and water projects to ensure we're maintaining proactive maintenance as opposed to reactive, focusing on IT and cybersecurity, and of course, above all else, safety, and meeting our operational and financial excellence through the KPI management. In the appendix is the full year snapshot on our KPIs. I know I went through that kind of quickly, but I'll pause there. Any questions or comments?
It's a good, successful year. Thank you for you and your team for managing so well.
Yeah, the team has done a great job, and I'm very proud of the work that has been done.
Just one comment. I don't mean to rain on anybody's parade. That is an excellent report. That's what you've done. I just want to throw in just a footnote, because it was talked earlier about hurricanes. There's only 1 month, according to historical records, there's only 1 month in the year that Florida has not had a hurricane. So you have to be ready almost any time. And what month was that? That's the question. Anybody have any idea? February.
Really?
It's the only month.
I was going to guess January.
Yeah, I wanted to too. Efren, how are we staffed right now as far as positions opened and fulfilled or not?
That's a good, right
Right in the deck,
now.
14 open positions.
Yeah.
So where's it?
Heather, do you want to talk about?
I didn't see it.
Good afternoon, Heather Carazales, Support Services Senior Manager. We tend to hover between 12 and 14 vacant positions. However, we've identified 6 or 7 of those that we've intentionally placed on hold. For example, we have a frozen water treatment plant operator vacancy because we've gone to single-man staffing at the nighttime shift. There is a director of strategic programs that we have frozen until we determine what's best needed for the utility. So some of those are permanent, frozen until we maybe reclassify them or decide what the business needs. But then there's always the ones that we're continually maybe looking for. So currently, we just had an apprentice lineman start today. We have a system operator starting next Monday. We have a journeyman lineman starting December 8th. So we do have some that are regularly coming in the door, but as of right now, I think we're about 12, 13 vacancies.
That's
really good. I was just in the lineman apprentice program, you know, that's just a critical thing that, you know, keep going. I mean, it's a constant feeding system, you know, that needs to be replaced. And I want to commend you on your employee recognition thing. I think that's great, doing it once a quarter. It makes a big difference to people, so.
Thank you. The next one's coming in January.
Okay, all right, very
Thank you.
good, thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
Okay.
There is one more, fiscal year '26 goals. So this one, there is not a presentation, but you do have a couple of pages on your, there it is, okay. Okay, so I'll go through, so vision, mission, core values continue.
Sorry, do we have a copy of that?
Yes.
It was in the package itself, attached to the agenda item.
Okay.
Oh, you copied it? Okay.
Do we?
I don't have it either, but
Just
I think if I had to understand, when we send out the agenda package, the first one goes out to the city commission too, and it's the agenda only. Your second one is the package. So you might be-
Electronic.
Right, electronically. So you might be looking at the wrong one, perhaps?
It's electronic, yeah.
There's a paper, I was referring to a paper
Paper
copy here.
copy.
That's all.
Oh, okay.
Thanks. I just can't read the screen. She gave me one, thanks.
Does anyone else need,
You're good.
okay. Okay, so on vision, mission, core values, we will continue execution of that. On the future strategy, one of the goals, of course, continue looking at customer experience. We'll review and update the modernization roadmap to align with the current strategic direction. That we'll do is conjunction with the budget cycle coming up. One of the ones on we want to increase electronic billing adoption, target of 10%, and that right now we are currently at 31%. On the electric modernization side, complete the AMI meter deployment. Right now we're at 13,000. We want to complete the total 31,000. The AMI water meter pilot is complete. That was 400. And next one, deploy underground fault indicators. So in essence, when we have underground cable, we want to add identification equipment to help us find the fault faster. And that really would be in new developments. The South Causeway utility crossing, the subaqueous cable replacement, that one is critical, and that was in the actual consent agenda item to proceed with RSQ, or the selection of the winning candidate. So that, of course, replaces 2 of the 4 cables, and that serves about 13,000 customers on beachside. And that would be drilling conduit underneath the intercoastal, so it's very specialized. Complete the Smyrna substation electrical mechanical relay replacement. That's a regulatory requirement that we need to be done by April 1st. We'll complete the reconductoring or putting the new wire on the transmission Field Street East project, and then we'll commission the Smyrna substation line 32, which services the Western Territory. Okay. Next slide, or next page. The modeling and the master plan development for water and wastewater assets. Finish up the screw press project during fiscal year '26. And then, of course, begin construction of the pellet softening. We have a number of lift station improvements that we need to do, 35, 79. Continue water well rehab, so in essence, potable water wells. On the safety side, continue implementation of the fiscal year '26 safety plan. So the big one that the team has done progress on is lockout, tagout. So what this is, when there's equipment or faulty equipment, one aspect of it, that it's secured, properly and that someone doesn't inadvertently open it to, in essence, work on a piece of equipment that is called lockout tagout, meaning do not touch it if it's got the lockout. So there's a very strict order of procedure on that to, in essence, injury from unintended startup or release of stored energy. The system operations standard operating procedures. So this is one where we recently hired a system operations manager, in essence, with some really good experience that's helping us, helping Raquel put together those SOPs and improving the system operations function. Recently, we had a CERC audit, so we're following up on those resolutions of those types of items. Thankfully, the audit was successful. There were some items that we've identified for improvement that they've signed off on and are happy with our plan of resolution. On the HR side, Heather's team is going to put together a succession plan for the key critical roles, evaluate the current, document, evaluate the current staff knowledge, skills, and abilities. One of the next one, SharePoint refresh. So currently we have a number internally to the team. We have a SharePoint site that has a number of critical documents, a refresh so that way we can leverage that site even more. Training program, continue to create, develop, and promote training for our people, internally developed. On the fleet and facility side, on the third and final page, we want to complete several projects since a lot of our facilities are old and failing restrooms, some facility improvements, tile, floor replacements, central office building, this building, fire alarm upgrades, the real storage structure over at T&D for cable, and then roof replacement and some parking lot repaving. So normal stuff to ensure that we're ahead of it so we don't, we replace, repair timely so we don't run into catastrophic issues. Governance deliverables, completing the quinquennial report, executing the fiscal year 26 bond transaction. And then on the IT and cybersecurity side, complete that digital transformation project, complete, in essence, cloud-based software that helps us with managing our computing, storage, and networking. Develop a strategy for electric SCADA. So in the fiscal year 25 accomplishments, we're doing a water and wastewater SCADA upgrade. The electric side of it, we will be doing an upgrade strategy for that type of system as well. And then complete the water SCADA. And then on the Western Utility side, support the commission on what's the most cost-effective approach for our operations and ultimately our customers. Okay.
Pretty ambitious.
When I first was introduced to the Utilities Commission, you did such a great job of giving me an overview, and I would categorize things in kind of three broad metrics, if you would. And you had some of the best safety records. You had very, very good reliability, some of the best in the state. But you also highlighted how we were, I think, the second least expensive provider of our services. I know that's going to change a little bit, but in your strategic goals, I don't really see anything in and around kind of cost management or optimization. And that might be an area that the team could look at to, balance the three legs of the stool, as I would call it: reliability, safety, and cost.
No, and that is a very good point. I know when we do, a lot of the things that we talked about, the screw press, the fluoride, those things do come out as we go through the budget challenge process, but that is a very,
I know there is high scrutiny
Yep.
around it. I just think in a document like this,
Yeah.
you
No, it
probably
makes
ought to
sense.
have something in and around that.
Yep,
And
makes
then
sense.
I guess my other question is, this is so compelling, this document, the start for your 26 goals. I'm not familiar with how you use this. I don't know if this becomes part of, you know, a one-on-one person, you know, personnel, annual goals, objectives. I don't know what kind of the incentive structure is for hitting this. Could you just touch on that a second?
Yeah, that's a really good point. So there is no incentive structure on these. These, as you notice, you can see, they're fairly specific. So there are specific groups. On the AMI side, it would be on the customer service, underground fault indicators, electric. So they are tied to specific groups because it is internally developed by us. And then, of course, the team, the directors identifying areas, encouraging on these types of items. So we do have that. So this will be built into their individual goals for this year and how how our people match up to this on the performance side of it. At the end of it, just like I summarized the fiscal year 25 accomplishments, this will then, you know, we will update how do we do against some on these goals as well. So it's kind of part and parcel.
And I think I've seen this or read this in some document, but none of the directors are on any kind of bonus or incentive plan.
No.
I guess, so my question to you would be, is that something you'd be interested in looking at? Is that non-traditional for this type of entity?
I think I believe there is a restriction on incentive programs as it relates to the way our structure is. I don't know, Heather, if you
For
can weigh in.
directors?
There's the requirement in the statute that if you're going to do a bonus plan, it has to be applicable to all of your employees. I mean, there are some things that you can do, but it just can't be just for specific, like just management. It would have to be available to everyone.
Is that something
Oh, I mean,
you'd want to look at for, you know? By
at the
that-
commission's direction, we will look at it, yes.
Well, I'm asking you is that a?
No, yes, of
management
course.
tool you would
That
want?
is, I mean, in the private industry that we've worked in, Julie, myself, and others, that is the incentive structure. That's what I was, but,
Yeah, I guess it's a question to you. Is that a management tool you'd like to see in your toolbox, something we should try to pursue?
I would like to, it would be great, but it's always, ultimately what we're trying to do is make sure that we have the lowest cost for everything, so that's really where we really haven't considered it previously. But yes, would it be a good management tool to implement? Those kinds of items, yes, they do promote or continue that type of behavior.
Okay,
So we'll take it as, we'll take it as something to take a look at. That'll be on mine.
okay.
Okay.
You done?
Yep, yes. Any, comments? I'm open.
Any other comments, questions for Efren or any staff? No. Let's move on to old business. Approval of amendment to New Smyrna budget estimate for resolution 2025-09.
Good afternoon. Oh,
Oh.
do you,
Julie, you can go.
oh, I don't know if you want a presentation, I'm happy to walk through it, but if you want to just take a review
Could you
of.
just give a broad description of what this is?
Yes.
This is, yeah.
So first, Julie Adamson, Director of Finance. I'd like to first thank the commission for providing us with the opportunity to refine the budget and reflect more recent information for our underlying assumptions. This provided the opportunity to ensure the rates continue to remain competitive for our customers. The budget amendment is for the New Smyrna Beach Utilities fiscal year 2026, and it'll cover the period of October 1st, 2025 through September 30th, 2026. During the October 27th commission meeting, we discussed how the budget serves as a financial link for the operations and is a fundamental assumption within the cost of service study to develop the rates. The budget modification to the New Smyrna Beach O&M costs and debt service are the same that were presented as part of the October 27th commission meeting. The budget provides the spending authority that enables NSBU to incur expenditures to support the 24/7 operations that are essential to providing drinking water, wastewater, reclamation, and electricity to our almost 30,000 customers. The budget amendment provides for the financial estimates to support continuity of operations by investing in capital, operations, and maintenance, and then needed to deliver the essential service to our customers. The infrastructure used in our operations to deliver essential services is significant. This budget provides the funding needed to deliver the potable water to our customers in the 60.5 square miles service territory, where there are 23 wells supplying the water treatment facility using over 300 miles of various piping to deliver the water through the system. To help manage the wastewater and reclaimed water for our customers, over 200 miles of various piping and mains and 109 sewer lift stations and 8 reuse ponds are needed, not to mention a water reclamation facility that treats the wastewater. NSBU also has an accredited laboratory that provides daily, weekly, monthly, and annual compliance testing of our water quality. To deliver electricity to our customers, NSBU needs to secure the power from various resources. FPLs, such as FPL Solar, our nuclear at St. Lucie Nuclear Plant, Rice Creek Solar. To deliver power to our customers within the 70.9 mile service territory, it requires approximately 299 transmission poles, 4 substations, and over 11,000 poles and almost 6,000 transformers. The intricacies of the water and wastewater reclamation and electric operations are complex and require specialized supplies, tools, and equipment and skilled labor to ensure safe and reliable service to our customers. NSBU's skilled labor force is vital in delivering essential services to our customers. The amended budget authorizes 181 employees plus 5 commissioner positions. The employees ensure the operations align with regulatory requirements. Close to 90 of NSBU employees are required to hold a regulatory license either with the state of Florida or some other regulatory agency. 19 employees have voluntarily obtained professional certifications or licenses. The underlying assumption in the budget assumes the following. Revenues were updated to reflect the most recent assumptions from the rate study. The O&M costs were reduced from $74.8 million to $72.5 million, representing $2.3 million reduction, or about 3%. As you all may recall, the primary driver of the reduction was due to purchase power costs, which was approximately a $1.6 million reduction, or 5% lower than the original fiscal year 26 budget. The next largest driver was our salary and benefits reduction of approximately $690,000. The debt service assumption was also updated to reflect the $80 million in bond funds to support the capital improvement plan, which reduced the total debt service in fiscal year 26 from $10.7 million to $6.2 million. The updated 10-year CIP was updated focusing on the first 5 years, fiscal year 26 to fiscal year 30. There was a $29 million reduction in our capital plan, which was primarily due to the removal of the transmission loop project for the electrical system. The fiscal year 26 to fiscal year 30 capital plan is funded with a combination of $80 million in bond funds, which is planned to be fully spent by 2028, $18.9 million in grant funds, $9.5 million in capital connection fees, and $39.6 million in mandatory transfers from our operating to our R&R account. It's important to reflect and to know that a fundamental assumption to the financial feasibility of our budget are the rates being approved in January 2026 with an effective date of February 1st, and the ability to issue bonds in March or April of 2026. Without the rate increase, NSBU will be unable to issue bonds needed to fund projects budgeted and underway in the capital plan. The bonds play a critical funding source for the capital plan. NSBU is requesting your approval for the amended budget and supporting resolution. The budget amendment for fiscal year 2026, which covers October 1st, 2025 to September 30th, 2026. Upon this approval of the resolution, the amended budget will be provided to the City of New Smyrna Beach Commission and to comply with previous discussions prior to the approval of our city ordinance 62-25 on September 23rd, 2025, which approved the original submitted budget for fiscal year 26. So I am kindly requesting your approval of our budget amendment for fiscal year 26. I am available for any questions.
What do you call the new budget?
The amended fiscal year 26 budget. It's like the second time we've ever had to do an amended budget. I did it on month 7 on the job.
Can't call it 2.0?
Open to any questions you may have.
Any questions? Jeff? Jim? Okay. Open for a amendment approval?
Well, it had been read before,
Yeah.
and I don't have the language in front of me.
We
But
can,
I'm sure Ms. Ramos can help me with that.
I can.
You have the resolution down there?
Yes, ma'am. A motion to approve pursuant to NSBUC's selection of Scenario 1 on 10/27/2025, which would have been Agenda Item 6A, the amended fiscal year 2026 Budget and Capital Improvement Plan, fiscal year 2026 through 2035, and as NSBU Resolution 2025-09, effective immediately upon passage.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
very good.
Was that a double second?
Yeah.
Ryan and Smith?
Yeah.
He beat me.
Okay, thank you.
We vote?
Ready for roll call?
Yep.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Conrad?
Yes.
Commissioner Devine?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Kelly?
Yes. Approved. Any new business? Anybody?
Just one quick question. That budget goes to the city council next, or
Yes.
I know they approved the previous budget, but do they approve the amended budget as well?
It's
No,
Sure.
I believe it just, since they did approve the original, we're sending it over to let them know that the follow-up was, we were going to review the budget, the one that they approved, and we were gonna update it, and we did. So we did exactly, and there's gonna be, I believe you read the intro of the email,
Yeah.
letting them know that
Great.
subsequent to that, this is what we did, and if they want us to present or do something else, we will, so it's really in their court.
And we'll
Thank
be
you.
publishing it in the newspaper as well during the month in December.
Thanks.
Okay, time for commissioners. Jeff, you got anything to go on? Jim?
Yes, you probably have this memo on your table there. I had asked, this is Ms. Ramos and staff, some questions regarding I'm calling it a CAC. I don't know if that's the correct term, but that's a Citizens Advisory Committee. And I don't want to read it verbatim, other than just take a look at it and when you get an opportunity, and just thank staff and Ms. Ramos for their time to answer these questions.
Okay. Commissioner Conrad?
No, I wish everybody happy Thanksgiving. Stay safe and enjoy the holiday.
I'm going to do too. Thank you Julie, for your diligent work. It's excellent. A lot of questions and good questions and great answers, and the formatting is very good that you've been doing. So very, very, very good. Thank you. And wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And let's keep, I did see, for those who get the News Journal, that they put in place their new rate plan. I don't know if you saw that.
Not
Their
yet.
proposal, yeah, it starts 2026 and goes out, I think, till 2028, 29. So you know, that's falls in line with what we're doing. You know, and they study it to the nth degree, not that we need to do it. They just did one in 2020 through 2024. And they're going to be higher than everybody by quite a bit. So we always want, to Jeff's point, Commissioner Devine, we always want to stay competitive and as low as we can. We are a small community, and I think Efren and the team and Julie have done an excellent job with that, keeping the rates where they need to be. But yeah, I did read that today in the paper. So, but I wish everybody happy Thanksgiving. And with that, meeting adjourned. Yep.
Thank you.